I can't see a lot of scoring forwards at all there, because, to be perfectly honest, their half-forward line are more or less converted centre fielders and
yeah, but look at the inside line. Sean Armstrong, there, Paul Conroy.
Inside, yes.
Mark Kerr, great prospect if he comes
No, in actual fact, it's a bit like the Leinster Rugby yesterday. The key with Leinster Rugby yesterday is that they had a bunch of fantastic subs that they could bring on that wouldn't affect the game. You look at the subs that Galway have today, Pádraig Joyce, Micheál Meehan, that can change a game. Look, on paper, Roscommon are the more experienced-looking side, and they're certainly, like, the one worry I would have from a Galway supporter is that there's two championship debutants at cornerbacks being marked, marking Sin and Kilbride and Donny Shine, two of the best forwards in the game. Like, in paper, I would say Roscommon, because they're the more settled side, but as Colm alluded to, Galway were very impressive in that Division 2 campaign, you know, a last-minute penalty depriving them from getting to Division 1. And I just like the way Alan Mulholland is approaching, you know, he's not, for 2 years, Tomás, Joe Kernan and Tomás O'Flaherty, they tried to reinvent the wheel with Galway football and make them a defensive. Now you're playing traditional Galway football, and I think I like Galway.
All right, we'll talk a little bit more about this match in a while, but last September it was GA.
With all the professional preparation, we really didn't perform as well as we should have in Championship. I've seen both Joe and Tomás's operations, and like, you couldn't fault them at all. So a lot has to go back on the players and why they haven't been performing in Championship, and that's something we have to rectify.
I felt that the time was right for me to take on this. I know that the county board in Roscommon were looking local, if you want. I'm not exactly local, but my pedigree is home-based. So from that point of view, I took it on as a challenge, really, and to see what I could add to the mix.
The experience I've developed through the 16s, under 18s, under 21s has helped. A lot of the group we have at the moment, I've worked with them, you know, way back since they were 15-year-olds. A lot of them I haven't as well, some of the older guys.
At the end of the day, it all boils down to the GA here, and it all boils down in some way to the county senior team as well. So I'm under no illusions in that respect, and you are under the microscope, particularly when the Championship comes around.
You have to treat lads differently when they're 30 years of age to when they're 17 years of age. I find they do a lot more for you when they're 17, and you have to persuade them a little bit more when they're 30.
I wouldn't exactly call it a conveyor belt, but there is obviously a lot of talent coming through the county. We don't have the population, therefore we don't have the player-based population of lots of other counties. So we have to really mind the younger players well to ensure that we get the crop coming through to the senior squad, a few from every minor team, a few from every under-21 team.
Roscommon, they have a good programme in place from an underage level. You know, they've minor champions 06 in the under-21 final only just recently. They're unlucky to lose against Dublin. So they're putting in the work at the underage level, and historically going back to 98 and 01, it's always, even when Galway were at their best, they always found it very hard to beat Roscommon. So we know we're up against it. Up in Hyde, nothing is ever easy, so we're going to have to be at our best if we're going to win.
We all set our sights on winning a Connacht Championship. We'd be disingenuous to ourselves and disingenuous to our players and disingenuous to our followers if we didn't have that target. So absolutely, that target is out there. I'm sure it's no different from Alan Mulholland's or target or any other manager.
What we've got to do is spend 2 or 3 years trying to build this, trying to allow some of the younger players to make mistakes, it may be, and if they do, not getting on their case a lot. So really, whether we, you know, win a Connacht title or go to Croke Park or whatever, really what we're looking at is a seen improvement in the quality of play, and the lads are in a better place starting off the year next year as well, so that we can build on that.
I'm sure it's going to be very close, and I'd be expecting it to be that way, and as most Championship games come down to, it'll be Desire that'll win out the day in the end.
Yeah, the rival managers today, Des Newton and Alan Mulholland. Colm O'Rourke, having met the two guys recently and knowing them down through the years, one thing that Galway and Roscommon can say is they have two solid guys in charge.
Oh, definitely solid citizens and people who are steeped in their county's tradition. I think I actually played on Des Newton, and the last time Roscommon won the All-Ireland semi-final in '91, and Alan Mulholland has spent a lifetime involved with Galway. So they're the sort of people you'd like to have in charge. As a bookmaker, I wonder what odds Alan Mulholland would give on himself surviving 3 or 5 years as Galway manager, because the pressure now on these fellas is enormous. I think they're brave men to take it on, because if things go wrong in a county, the public seem to turn on them very, very quickly, and then there's demands for a change, like Tomás O'Flaherty and Joe Kernan. They got 1 year. What Galway need to do with Alan Mulholland is probably give him 3 or maybe 5 years, and the same with Des Newton and Roscommon. You cannot judge a manager on the basis of 1 year or 2 years, because if they decide to put something in motion, and Des Newton, I think, is the bravest of all today, because he decided not to bring in any of the under-21s.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, the normal thing would be to rush these fellas through. So obviously he's looking for later in the year and maybe next year. So they're the two type of people you'd like to have in charge of your county.
OK, time now to head to the commentary box. This is
where their main hope and source for scores will be Donald Shine. I compare his kicking style to that of Maurice Fitzgerald, and I think it's fair to say in his short career he's proved himself an able score-getter, and on top of all of that he possesses an excellent temperament.
Ireland winning minor captain Paul Conroy.
Well, I think it's fair to say that both teams are in a state of evolution at the moment. Galway have a spine of very seasoned players, but I think at number 5 in Gareth Bradshaw they have a lad who plays with great spirit and drive. Also, he's no slouch in the scoring department, and I think if he can discover his best form today, Galway will benefit.
And here in Dr. Hyde Park, Roscommon, it's a lovely afternoon for the Connacht champions.
For you, Colm, it's the Roscommon midfielder Michael Finneran.
Yeah, well, Michael Finneran is a huge man. I don't know what he weighs in at or what size he is, but he looks about 6'5", and he's rarely beaten in the air. A few years ago, he was quite raw, and he was good in the air, but hadn't much else to his game. And it's amazing that over the last few years now, he's developed into a very, very competent midfielder, works hard, and very much a team player. So he's the sort of person that you'd like on your side.
6'4" is the actual stat on this guy. There's a couple of big fellas.
That's when he's bent down a good bit, I think, because he looks a lot bigger than that. And the length of arms, too, of a fella is as important as the height. Some players are born with long arms. I remember Pádraig Dunn playing with Offaly, and he used to be dragging his nails on the ground, you know, and he had this huge leap, so he used to be outfielding a lot of bigger men, and people wondered why he was able to get up so well.
Marty Morrissey mentioned in the commentary there, Joe Bergen made the captain of the Galway under-21 team 10 years ago. And Joe has been there, very experienced player. He'll have to play a good game at midfield today.
Well, when a team is in transition, as Galway are, a huge amount of responsibility is then placed on the shoulders of the senior players on the team. And certainly the elder statesman on this team is Joe Bergen. I mean, he burst on the scene as a young footballing star in 2000. He was the All-Star Young Footballer of the Year in 2000, the year they were beaten by Kerry in the All-Ireland final. Won an All-Ireland Senior Medal in 2001. Captain Galway to the All-Ireland Under-21 title in 2002. You know, he's been there for, he's one of the longest serving players now playing at inter-county level. He's an outstanding centre-field player, great athleticism, very pacey, rangy type of player, and comfortable in the half-forward line today. And there will be a big responsibility on Joe Bergen, because Joe Bergen and Greg Higgins are up against a very formidable centre-field pairing, an experienced centre-field pairing in Micheál Finneran and Carol Mannion. So if they can break even, Galway will be doing very well. But certainly he's been an outstanding servant. He owes nothing to Galway football. A brilliant footballer, Joe Bergen. OK, we're going to take a short break here on the Sunday game. When we come back...
Left to right, we're watching Connacht Championship quarter-final between Roscommon and Galway on the Sunday Game Live. Gareth Bradshaw, the man that Martin Carney highlighted in our scene set, goes forward. He had a very fine league campaign, and right at the very start, his very first chance, he puts it over the bar. Gareth Bradshaw puts Galway in front. It's 1 point to no score.
Yeah, I think that's something we're going to see again and again today. Bradshaw coming up the field on the right-hand side and going for scores like that. And it puts a big onus, actually, on the guy who's marking him. I think at the moment he's been picked up by John Rogers to actually track those runs.
Just 23 years of age. 2006 All-Ireland winning minor. Good ball inside towards Senan Kilbride. On the turn, hits it first time. And that's a sensational score by Senan Kilbride, because he really flung it into the air and through the left booted it and hit it perfectly. Good ball over here, Ferris Kilbride. Didn't look around, bounced and then hit it perfectly.
Yeah, hit it perfectly indeed. Interesting enough, at the moment, Finian Hanley is taking the responsibility of marking Kilbride, but the quality of the ball into space that time.
Kick out by Adrian Faherty. Straight down the middle. And it's Keenan again. Sending a ball into the space for Greg Higgins to run onto. Steadies, shoots despite being challenged. That's a great point. Greg Higgins coming forward, severely challenged. Carl Mannion, and that is a great score.
That's a beautiful score, a very intelligent piece of moving into space that time by Carl Mannion. Took the ball
in 2006 against Kerry in the replay. But surprisingly, he sends this one wide. His ankle problem, as you can see. Michael Finneran seems to be the player that's down injured. And this would be a huge blow if Michael Finneran had to depart the scene after just 7.5 minutes of play, because here comes Gary O'Donnell, Shooting Stars man. Well gathered by full forward Paul Conroy on the turn. That's a really good score by Paul Conroy. He had to win the ball first of all, and it was difficult enough. He caught it cleanly. Nice turn.
Well, that typifies and is an example of what's finest in Gaelic football. A lovely delivery from out the field. I think it was by the wing-back Gary O'Donnell. Beautifully fielded, wonderful handling actually, it must be said, by Paul Conroy.
Particular concern to his playing colleagues, because he is a vital cog in the middle of the field. Carl Mannion trying to get away from the pressure being exerted by Gary Seiss. Over on the far side, it's John Rogers. Ball given away. Had to really work hard to try and gather it back. Paul Conroy is out around the middle of the field. Ball inside, there's a chance for Mark Hare. He turns, he shoots! Brilliant goal for Galway. And it's significant that it comes at a time when Michael Finneran had to leave the field. They put in Niall Daly, no reflection on Niall Daly, but Galway won the ball in the middle of the field. Brilliant counter-attack into Mark Hare, who steadied himself before shooting easily past the Roscommon captain, Jeffrey Claffey.
Yes, indeed, and it comes from a mistake actually on the far side by the Roscommon wing forward. I think it was John Rogers. But
Johnny Dwyer, and Galway now playing with great confidence. Long ball from Joe Bergen. As Galway attack looked pretty vibrant. Sean Armstrong hits a very high ball and it curls beautifully over Jeffrey Claffey's crossbar. And that's another point for Galway. And it's 11.5 minutes and Galway look pretty formidable here.
Well, that's a lovely string of scores from Galway in very quick succession. That's the first time we've seen Armstrong getting into the game, so to speak. But it must be said that at full forward at the moment, Paul Conroy, who...
Here's a chance now. As Galway with Gary Seiss takes the spray, and the umpire is going for the flag. And Galway stretch their lead. 1-4 to 2 points now. Through a mistake when they had possession will surely affect their confidence.
Yeah, they certainly knocked a lot of the confidence out of them, and they're second to every ball, it must be said. Galway are out in front of their men very, very well, playing great forward play.
Here's Paul Conroy laying it off as Gary Seiss brought down inside the large rectangle. At least it looked it, maybe not quite, maybe it was on the verge. We'll have to check again, because immediately Joe McQuillan blew the whistle. Let's just have a look at it again. The referee was in no doubt. Was the trip outside? Was it just along the perimeter? He's already scored 1 point from a free, and that's his second. Controlled football by Galway. Long ball from Tom Flynn, giving it in towards Paul Conroy. There's a touch. The goalkeeper has to be assertive here. Here's Armstrong coming through, and was untouched and almost picked up off the ground, but not quite by Niall Carty. John Rogers, the left, gets it as far as Paul Conroy. Has to go back for his big Joe Bergen. 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 Galway players available. He uses Garrett Bradshaw, going for a second point perhaps, drops it in, and the goalkeeper gets his fingertips to it, but it's over the bar for Bradshaw's second point of the match. He really is having a fine game when he goes forward, but it's that added dimension that he brings, not just as a very tight, tough defender, but when Johnny Dwan is underneath it, safe pair of hands. Lays it off, Farrell's Kieran McGrath. Back Farrell's centre half back, Johnny Dwan. Long ball, dangerous ball, Conroy underneath it. There's trouble again in Roscommon! What about that for a cracking goal? Roscommon are being torn apart. The long ball, the short ball, whatever option, plan A, plan B, they're all working for Galway because their attack are really formidable. What about that for a peach of a finish by full forward Paul Conroy?
That's a wonderful score from Conroy, but we have flagged this a couple of minutes ago to say that Carty was under huge pressure actually from Conroy, but the direct ball in is reaping dividends for Galway at the moment, but that was
of experience. The name O'Gara, synonymous of course with Roscommon football. David O'Gara, son of John. Gathering all over the place. Galway seems so much more assured. Garrett Bradshaw down towards Conroy. It runs on kindly for Gary Syce, getting inside the cover. Roscommon are backtracking. Here comes a shot from Syce, and it's over the bar. 3 points for the half forwards. 2 of them from frees, 1 of them from play. But every time that Galway go into the attack, Roscommon are shaking in their shoes.
Yeah, the Mo Giroux is paying a dividend every time. Let the ball into Conroy. If he's not catching it cleanly, he's breaking it to somebody else. The support plays coming through at speed from the half forward line. The angles of running are outstanding, and the accuracy is just top drawer.
Kick out comes straight down the middle. Gathered on this occasion by Greg Higgins. Garrett Bradshaw steadying the ship to Johnny Dwan, under 21 All-Ireland medalist last year, to Kieran McGrath from Corofin. Gary O'Donnell, Galway minor captain 2 years ago. Higgins to Bergen, to a shot that is straight and true. Galway in control in the middle of the field. Joe Bergen and Higgins combining nicely. Joe Bergen getting his first score of the match.
Drawer, and the accuracy of it is the other thing that is really impressive.
Gary Syce losing the battle on this occasion. Cathal Craig goes forward. Johnny Dwan, there's a great burst of speed by Cathal Craig, gets inside the cover as well, same name. First free went wide, second one goes over the bar. Joe Bergen dominating the middle of the field. Down towards Mark Hare, proving his performance in the league campaign when he scored 9 points, reflected with his fine goal, the first goal here in Dr. Hyde Park. Down first Paul Conroy, who got the second. Good defending. Nice pick up by Sean Purcell. David O'Gara tries to exert an influence on the game, laying it off as David Keenan. Cathal Craig, willing to run every time he gets the ball at the Galway defence. Ball inside is a pretty good one. Shine, Carl Mannion is gone, there's a deflection, and it's gone out for a 45. But that is as close as what we've seen so far of Roscommon getting a goal. Great run again by Cathal Craig. He created the opportunity. Shine did well. Carl Mannion was gone through in an overlap, but it took a deflection off Garrett Bradshaw to just put it outside the post.
Movement has been top, really exceptional.
Niall Daly, Peter Domican. Cathal Craig, Johnny Dwan, and again there is that burst of speed. Surely Hells, Craig did really well, and that's gone over the bar. Well, if they had more footballers like Cathal Craig with his self-belief and sheer determination and tenacity, then Roscommon could easily get back into this game. In Kilbride, 50-50 ball, he went for it. Back out for his Darren McDermott. Better from Roscommon. Carl Mannion throwing one in really high, testing out Finian Hanley. Fullback passes the test. Garrett Bradshaw comes away with it, challenged by Ian Kilbride. Joe Bergen is there to exert a calming influence. and it ends up with Gary O'Donnell surviving a challenge from Cathal Craig. Johnny Dwyer. Mark Hare. Score of a goal and a yellow card. Ball from Greg Higgins. Down towards Shawnee Armstrong. Jeffrey Claffrey has to come off his line. Shawnee McDermott. Armstrong comes in to challenge. And this is just a little bit better, I have to say, from Roscommon. Cathal Deneen loses possession. Damien Burke. First to the ball. Shawnee McDermott. And taking up the responsibility again is David O'Gara. Carl Mannion goes for distance. Much better out of Roscommon in the last few minutes. Championship debut against Galway back in 2008. And he takes it.
Roscommon, and it is Galway 2-8, Roscommon 6 points. And by the way, during our half-time break, here on The Match, we have a very nice prize for you to win. We'll have the details in a little while. Now, Colm O'Rourke and Pat Spillane here with me in studio. Colm, it's been Galway's way so far.
Very much so, and the game is a bit flat as a result, I suppose. There's a big home support in Dr. Hyde Park, and they haven't had much to shout about. I don't know whether it's Galway's excellence or the poor play on Roscommon. I think it's a bit of both. Roscommon have been awful sloppy with the ball, particularly in hand passing and short kicks. But Galway have played a very traditional style of football, something that we didn't think they would at the start. They've kept their half-forward line up, and Gary Sice has been very much in the game. And the long ball into Paul Conroy has worked very well. And I'd say then also they've won most of the breaks on the kickouts. I'd say Garrett Bradshaw has handled more ball than any other player on the pitch. But Galway were utterly dominant. The only sort of spark has come late in the game from Cathal Craig, who has been able to outpace Johnny Dwan, who shouldn't wear white boots because he's conspicuous by his slowness in trying to follow Craig.
One of the things that, as Colm was mentioning there, that has worked so well for Galway is that ball into that full forward line has produced 2 goals and a couple of very good points.
Look, for years, you know, I've been campaigning to try to get the foot back into football, and this was a wonderful exhibition of what Gaelic football is all about. Beautiful kick passing into Paul Conroy. The key in Gaelic football is to get the ball up as fast and as accurately as possible into the forward line where the scores are coming, and that's what Galway are doing. There's great variety in their play. They're hitting the full forward line into the corners, indirect into Paul Conroy. The scores are absolutely magnificent. It's exactly Galway like Kerry.
Take some really bad wides.
No doubt about it, and Donny Shine, the man that they would look to sort of be the inspiration. He, in the beginning here, we
that was a bad miss by David Keenan.
He's more a workhorse, but you'd expect that Donny Shine would kick these, and then I suppose because he had missed a couple of frees, he's snatching at balls. Every forward wants to get on the scoreboard early on, and because he didn't get on it, he was inclined to be going for scores from long range, when maybe he should have been laying the ball off.
And a couple of those wides were kicked when Galway got a good start. They went a point ahead. Then Roscommon
Wagging his finger and counting, but we continue on with the kick out from Adrian Faherty. Cathal Craig has shown well, pumping in a high ball towards Donny Shine, trying to knock it back. Finian Hanley is there too. Kilbride battling hard. Free. First score of the second half on its way. For Carl Mannion, grabbing the ball in his hand and subsequently fouled. Taken quickly by Cathal Craig, and they are pumping in the high ball in the second half. There's a lovely layoff, there's a chance. Blasted over the bar by David O'Gara. But the high ball, long ball strategy may well be a successful option for Roscommon.
Well, I believe myself it is a possibility for them. I think Galway should switch immediately and put Finian Hanley on the edge of the square, marking Donny Shine.
And fouled, and again the book has been taken out. Just noting the name of the offending player in question. Ian Kilbride just walking away. Ball is sent in towards Mark Hare. Paul Conroy takes responsibility. Going to have a pop from there, and it was never in doubt. Paul Conroy is really playing well at full forward. He's now contributed a goal and 2 points, all from play. The kick out is a quick one, out for Cathal Deneen. Sean Purcell, David O'Gara, set up for that goal-scoring opportunity at the start of the second half by Donny Shine. But he blasted over the bar. Darren McDermott working hard to lay it off. Fires Niall Daly. coming through the middle. This is good play. The ball is sent in very weakly, and the goalkeeper didn't really handle it that well. And back there was Keith Kelly. And now the cheer is for Michael Meehan, and he's going to replace Sean Armstrong. You will remember back 7 years ago when Armstrong and Meehan were just sensational in the under-21 All-Ireland final, with Michael Meehan scoring 3 goals. Will gain them nothing. So all they do is lose, and there's an extra 13 metres here from Michael Meehan to take the free and score his first point of the championship 2012. Meehan taps it over.
I know, like in Gaelic football, we love to have our stars and we love to have players that we want to go out and watch Sunday after Sunday. I will put Michael Meehan in that bracket. Over the last number of years, he's been a joy to watch, and it's just a shame that his career has been blighted by bad injury. Hopefully this will be the start of a resurrected period of his career.
This is underneath it and gathers. Quick layoff for Paul Conroy. Darren McDermott is back there. He's the full forward, tries to block it. Conroy turns, and Conroy is giving an exhibition of football at full forward. That's a goal and 3 points all from play, and he is the ace sharpshooter on this particular Galway performance. And on a day when Galway have scored 2-11, Paul Conroy has scored 1-3, and here is another iconic figure in Galway football. 36-year-old Pádraig Joyce is about to enter the championship of 2012, and he will probably get a bigger cheer than Michael Meehan. 9 wides for Roscommon in this match. Now here comes the cheer. Damien Burke, centre half forward, is the player to make way, and coming on is Pádraig Joyce, 3 times an All-Star in. Gary Seiss gives it for as Mark Hare. Tom Flynn. For as Paul Conroy. Back out for as Michael Meehan. To Pádraig Joyce. Back to Meehan. I think you know what could be coming next. Wonderful play by Meehan and Joyce. They still have the magic.
Lovely interplay between the two of them, you know, that intuitive understanding of what each other does. But I think in that case, actually, Meehan kicked the ball with his right foot, which is not the normal one he'd like.
Niall Daly. Roscommon continue to try, but you can see with the arrival of Michael Meehan and Pádraig Joyce that their confidence must be deflated. David O'Gara has hit a smashing point. That's the sort of football and the hard work of players like Cathal Craig and Shawnee McDermott and Sean Purcell that will guide Roscommon to greater things. Gives it far as Greg Higgins. Tom Flynn can take the hefty challenge and win the dirty ball. Gives it back outside far as Garrett Bradshaw, as Galway are now back around midfield. Joe Bergen floats one in far as Michael Meehan. Coming through is Bergen on the overlap. No way through immediately, and floats this one in, and it is a pretty good effort. Great score by Joe Bergen. You have to be patient, you have to maintain control of the ball, don't panic. He looked at the goalpost just there momentarily and felt, okay, I could possibly do this. Many to have a go. Kept in just about by Gary Seiss. Pádraig Joyce comes out to gather. Has to go back far as Tom Flynn. Gary Seiss is available too. Uses Garrett Bradshaw. Joe Bergen. Tom Fahey. Here comes the cornerback, Kieran McGrath. Championship debutant. All the way from Currafin in the county of Galway. And he will remember that for the rest of his days, scoring from cornerback, wearing number 2, and scoring a wonderful point.
It might be a little bit empty to say the word total football, but in that case, you had great support coming from the full back line, and maybe Roscommon, must be said, have capitulated at this stage.
And out of goal, points from play, and that is hugely significant and impressive. Pádraig Joyce. He saw Michael Meehan at the edge of the square. Meehan gathers. Meehan bounces. What's he going to do? He gives it to Sykes. Brilliant football. Joyce, Meehan, Sykes, back of the net. It is really good quality football. Look at the vision of Pádraig Joyce. Look at the ball handling here of Meehan under pressure. The unselfishness to give it to Sykes and cracked it home.
Yeah, your ability to just say composed under pressure was manifest there. Michael Meehan just held on to the ball, realised that Sykes was in a better position and gave it to him. But the quality of the crossfield.
Degree of confidence, as you can see. And here he is again. Crossfield ball is aimed at Michael Meehan. Thought about laying it off to the point scorer, Kieran McGrath, but found Danny Cummins inside. A chance, and that is over the bar. It was hit with such velocity, we really didn't know where it was going. But that's another point for Paul Conroy. That's a goal and 4 points the full forward has scored.
But God, the pass that time was it from Michael
Meehan.
Michael Meehan was just delightful, just radar.
Shine. The run is provided by centre half back Peter Domican. Jarhina getting inside the cover and taking his point.
They always find Roscommon difficult down in Dr. Hyde Park, but a 14-point win, they hardly expected that.
No, they didn't. One expected a bigger challenge and a better challenge from Roscommon. But, like, credit to Galway, they, particularly in the first half, the game was over at half-time as a contest, really. But some of the football they produced in the first half was absolutely brilliant. The forward play, their kick passing, the variety in their attack. I mean, Galway today scored three goals and 12 points from play. That's a great tally. Roscommon, on the other hand, scored 6 points from play. And then when you have impact subs to come on, like Pádraig Joyce and Michael Meehan, you know, form is temporary, class is permanent. Pádraig Joyce gave a cross-field kick pass, diagonal kick pass to Michael Meehan, who set up the goal for Gary Size. It was absolute magic. On the other hand, look, Roscommon were leaderless, they were clueless, they were rudderless. What was very, very surprising for me, they didn't look fit, they didn't look up to the pace of the game, they didn't seem to want it. It was like as if they were playing in the opening of a tournament in Strokestown. They were very poor, but maybe we shouldn't be surprised. They finished 4th in Division 3, Michael.
Yeah, but he is talking to Joanne Cantwell.
Well, Alan, were you surprised at just how comprehensive that was today?
To be honest, yeah. We were nervy coming into it. You know, the last few years, you know, probably haven't got the results that we would have hoped, and you could tell that the lads were definitely edgy coming into this today. But I think that helped us a little bit in that it focused us, and we started off very well in the first half. I think, you know, Roscommon early on, they missed a couple of chances, and particularly Donny Shine missed a free that he wouldn't normally miss, and maybe that seemed to sap a bit of confidence from them, and then it kind of kicked us on a bit. So that 20 minutes in the first half, I think it was probably, looking back on the game, that was where we kind of stamped our authority on the whole thing.
Yeah, because you didn't look edgy, you didn't look nervous. You obviously noticed it, but it didn't look to the spectator like that.
Maybe it's just me, so I don't know. Definitely, look, it was nervous in a good way. You know, that they were focused and they were wanting to start off well and not leave it to the last couple of minutes. You know, over the last few years we've been beaten by a point in championship, and I think maybe that was it, that they were afraid that we'd get to the last while and edgy. So we did start well, you know.
You've probably been fed up of listening to people giving out about what's happened with Gaelic football, but there weren't that many hand passes from your side. Have you been working on trying to use the foot pass quite a lot?
Yeah, well, if you look through, I suppose, look through the scores we got, and probably most of them would have come from direct ball into the full forward line. So that's what we were trying to do. But to be honest, I think a lot of teams are trying to do that, but it's difficult when other teams put 3 and 4 in front of that full back line. So look, we want to do that. If we're able to, we'll try to. If the other team won't let us do it, we have to find a plan B. So like today, we were able to get ahead. I think it's important, you know, that you get ahead early, and then teams have to come out. So we were able to do it today.
And mixing the young players, how do you feel that they started play today?
They did well, but the older players played well as well. It was great to see. You know, I think we were struggling a little bit, maybe the middle of third of the game, and the all experienced guys kind of settled us down a bit. Like I said, Mike Meehan and PJ came in, so you know, that was great for us to be able to have those guys on the bench. But apart from that, then it allowed, like I said, Tomas Fahey, Micheál Boyle, Danny Cummins to come in too, and they played very well.
In a game where you've won so well, Would there be slight concerns over the fact that when Roscommon did run at you and when they did send high balls right into the full back line, that there were problems there?
Definitely, Carl Craig was causing us a lot of problems, particularly towards the end of the first half, and Dooney Shine and Kilbride as well, when they pumped it in, was troubling us as well. But you're not going to go through full games of dominating the opposition. So, like we've done well today, we know that Sligo is going to be a totally different proposition. Kevin is waiting in the wings there, licking his lips, looking at us, I'd say. So it's on to Sligo now, and we'll have it all to do to beat them.
Well, let's hope that it's as good a performance as it was today. Alan, thanks very much.
Thanks, John.
Your Des Newton.
Thanks, Joanne.
Des, were you surprised at that performance today?
Joanne, I would have to say I was surprised. I mean, overall, we just didn't show the desire required to make a game of it today, and Galway showed all the desire out there. But I'm not going to do any of the players in that dressing room down in there. They've all given me everything I've asked over the last 6 months, and sometimes you have days like this, and I'll hold my hand up and take responsibility for it. We'll have a look at our role in the management of the team and selection of the team and so on. But I mean, those lads are going to be very disappointed because they set the bar of expectation very high for themselves as well, have no doubt about that. And there's been lots of other bigger teams that have taken beatings just as bad as this and come back from them. So, what we do next, I suppose, is the most important thing now. We'll go in, lick our lips for a while. There's club championship on in the county next week, and we'll regroup in a couple of weeks' time. We'll see what the qualifiers throw up at us.
Obviously, the early injury didn't help your cause today. You seemed to extra struggle after that happened.
Well, I suppose we knew that Galway were coming in quite strong in the middle area of the field anyway, and we were going to be really up against it to get any semblance of parity. And we had plans in place, to try and help out the two midfielders to gain that. But losing one of your main midfielders after a couple of minutes is obviously not helpful. In the overall scheme of the way the game panned out at the end, it didn't make that much difference. But there was a consequence for the following 10 or 15 minutes. And I think when you look back and analyse this game, it was probably between the 10th minute and the 20th minute of the first half, when I think Galway scored about 2-3 that created a gap that was just